What's up, my Nimrods? It's Gage, coming back at you guys again with another dose of that fresh, never frozen Yu-Gi-Oh content. I am really fucking happy that you guys would spend just a couple minutes with me here today, talk about a children's card game we both mutually enjoy so fucking much. So today we are adding on to one of my favorite series that I like to do on this channel. It's one that I haven't added on in a couple weeks, but I finally got inspired to add on to it as of the recent events of YCS New Jersey. So in this series we talk about really bad Yu-Gi-Oh cards that were good, but now we're talking about one that is just currently good. And today we're going to be talking about Firecracker. Firecracker is a level 4 fiend fire monster with 1700 attack, 200 defense that reads, during either player's turn, you can discard this card, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent, and if you do, skip your next draw phase. You can only use this effect of Firecracker once per turn. Each time your opponent takes effect damage, place one counter on this card. Once per turn, during the end phase, remove all counters from this card that were placed by its effect, and if you do, inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each. So YCS New Jersey was the flagship event of the new end of match procedures, and for people that are unfamiliar with them, if you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks, what the new end of match procedures are is when time limit is called, the turn player will finish their current phase. You're not finishing your turn, you're not going 5 turns back and forth, you just finish the phase you're in. That's it. This entire rule change has been met with mixed reviews from players, most of them being negative, as it just really creates an unfair advantage and it causes players to play really differently as the clock approaches 0, whereas normally when you have 5 turns to work with, the game can kind of progress as normal. Now everything has been flipped on its head. Now as time starts to tick down, players will start to act more feverishly in their plays, sometimes making suboptimal plays just to poke damage in as soon as the clock is called, so you can quickly get into your battle phase. Or if you can just somehow deal burn damage in your main phase with a card like Yugioh Cowboy, you can simply win duels like that. But something that will happen more common than anything else is the match will end in a draw, and that is something that has happened a lot at YCS New Jersey, with draws at the end of rounds actually doubling from prior events, and sometimes even just reaching obscene numbers like a whopping 27% of draws happening after round 4. All of this is caused by the new end of match procedures, and possibly as time goes on, players will start to adjust to them, and maybe we can start finishing matches of Yu-Gi-Oh within 40 minutes. But the more likely thing to happen is that this trend will continue. We'll see a lot more draws, and players will have to adapt, whether it be through their side decks or just their playstyles in general. But one of the cards that happened to show up this weekend at YCS New Jersey and absolutely tear up the top tables is Firecracker, being pretty much the easy button answer to winning your games in time. Firecracker was released rather recently, as recent as Maximum Crisis. It was released as a common, so maybe it's something that got looked over as players start to dig through their boxes. But now with the new end of match procedures and people are looking for different ways to cheat the system, this card has easily come out on top. And really, this card doesn't serve any other purpose outside of its first line of text, being quite simply a hand trap that will deal 1000 damage. Now, what's so good about dealing 1000 damage? When time limit gets called, depending on what player's turn it is and what phase they're in, more commonly the main phase 1, your opponent will try to play it out in a certain manner, normally that being trying to deal as little burn damage as possible to chip in game. As we talked about before on the channel, and maybe some other Yu-Gi tubers have brought it up, Yugioh Cowboy has been a popular choice for people to look at, or Trick Stars, both being decks that can easily do burn damage, or, well, Yugioh Cowboy in the case, a card that is really splashable into any deck that can summon a rank 4. And in retrospect, it really doesn't matter how much burn damage you're doing, as long as you're putting points onto the board, you're going to win that duel, because if you finish your main phase 1 with higher life points than your opponents, you've already won. But something that may have caught a couple people off guard is Firecracker, which, it being a hand trap, being the fact that you can deal damage on either player's turn, it doesn't really matter who's going to open up game 3 in time. If your opponent's playing Goki and decides to take their sweet old time going off on plays to put you in the time limit as they're going off on their combos, you may not actually have any chance to interact. They may be forcing the draw, or if they have a way to deal damage with Yugioh Cowboy by making it later in the turn, they may have just cheated you out of an easy win. However, However, Firecracker is super cute in the sense where it deals 1000 damage, which is exactly 200 more than Gagaga Cowboy. So something to really make your opponent pissed off is if they go off on their entire combo, stick you in time, deal damage to you with Gagaga Cowboy, and then you get flipped Firecracker on them. Imagine their face. At that point in the game, your opponent has most likely already achieved the goal they set out to do, and that was to make Gagaga Cowboy, which means they probably exhausted all their other resources. They probably don't play a second Gagaga Cowboy, so they can't activate that effect again. You've won the duel off of the back of Firecracker. Even if you're off the draw, you don't even get to see your first turn, your opponent decided to put you into time, it is still possible to win the duel if you draw this 3 of that you sided in. And sometimes that's just all the odds you have to play with and all the odds you need to sometimes steal a game from your opponent. Settling the game in anything other than a draw is mostly mutually beneficial. A draw will normally help nobody as it's going to stick people further down. It's pretty much just equal to that of a loss. And of course, everything's favorable for you if you can flip that into a win somehow, something that Firecracker can really easily do. It doesn't matter, again, that you're missing your draw phase because this card is strictly played in the fact that you can stick it in your deck as the clock ticks down. Phasing also doesn't matter with this card as well, being the fact that it can be activated during any phase. It's not like a card like Effect Veiler, which can be activated strictly during main phase 1. This card can be activated during any phase at any time. So if your opponent gets into draw phase or standby phase as soon as the clock ticks down, you can still drop Firecracker and win the game. Out of all the time limit tech cards being explored right now, I believe Firecracker is the one that has easily come out on top. We have to compare it to the other ones that people have looked at seriously, and that is cards like Gagaga Cowboy, where Firecracker is just better in the sense that it deals 200 more damage. Of course, it's not, easily accessible as Gagaga Cowboy, since Gagaga Cowboy just sits in your extra deck. You can make it if your deck can make rank 4s, but if you draw this, you beat out that card. Another tech that people have been looking at, I don't know if it's totally serious, but Poison of the Old Man has been explored, and Poison of the Old Man can either inflict 800 points of damage to your opponent, or more commonly, it will heal you by 1200 points. Of course, Poison of the Old Man will lose to Firecracker, but the thing with Poison of the Old Man is that it is a quick play spell card. It does not have the charm of being a hand trap. So if you know you are bound to go second as the clock hits 0, those Poison of the Old Mans that are sitting in your side deck are essentially worthless. You'll never see them. And then I don't know if this card's actually seriously being explored outside of my local scene, but Aegis of Gaia is a card that has come up more than a few times. Aegis of Gaia is a continuous trap card that will heal you for 3000 life points, and when it is removed from the field, it deals 3000 to you. I don't think this card is good at all because A, it's a trap card, it has to sit there for a turn, but also if it gets removed, it essentially did nothing. I definitely think Aegis of Gaia is probably the worst of the bunch. I don't know why people at my locals are looking at it, but it just seems at every point we tend to look at, Firecracker will come out on top strictly for the fact that it is a hand trap you can activate on either players at any point. Simply having that control over when you can activate the card will allow people to steal games in time, and it has definitely been a popular choice at YCS New Jersey. I'm just surprised out of the large pool of cards we have that inflict burn damage, Firecracker isn't one that I've heard at all. I just think this is actually, looking at it now, probably the greatest card we have to counter time limit. I think it's going to be a little bit odd when we start to see this pop up in side decks all the time, because you may have Firecracker attrition wars to the point where my opponent activates Firecracker and I have my own Firecracker, so we still draw, or I can make Gagaga Cowboy and win at that point. I just think Firecracker is going to be made in every side deck moving forward. Really, the only deck I see not taking advantage of Firecrackers, and they probably actually will even saying this, is Trickstars, because Trickstars can do their entire burn damage thing on their own. That's what the deck is entirely built around. Although, going off the draw with Trickstars, you're going to be losing if you're playing the mirror match. Firecracker may be able to steal that game if your opponent bricks. I know that's super unlikely, but it's just the plausibility that will allow this card to be great. And it actually is, I think, far and far beyond the best time limit burn card we have to date. This card is still extremely inexpensive on TCG Player, on eBay. You can find this card for $2 a playset on eBay, probably less on TCG Player. I really see this card rising up in price after this event and all the deck lists get leaked out. I think everybody's going to realize just how powerful this card is when you get moved into time limit. But all that being said, let me know what you guys think of Firecracker. Do you guys think there's a better option to be playing as you move into time limit? I personally don't see it. I just see this being the all-around best card. Gold star to it for sure. But that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to like the video. thumbs up the video, how much more say you enjoyed the video. If you did like the video, please do consider subscribing to my Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube channel. I upload rather frequently, and you know, it feels really damn good to keep a consistent schedule. So if you guys want to see more high quality Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, be sure to hit that subscribe button, be sure to like, comment, and yeah, I'll definitely catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Nim Nim signing out.